When people find out you work as a paramedic, they always ask the same question. What's the worst thing you've ever seen? The truth is, they don't want to know. Anytime I've actually told them, their curious little gaze turns into a look of disgust by the end, and we both end up feeling like shit. Now, I just tell some other random story that sounds gnarly to give into their morbid curiosity, but it doesn't make them regret their question. I usually stick with the one where a guy committed suicide by shooting himself with a .357 Magnum. I talk about the scene, what happened, and how my partner asks why there was gum all over the wall, only to be told it was brain matter. The story seems just to satisfy people, but you guys wanted to hear the worst thing I've ever seen, so here it is. Just know, you asked for it, and you're not going to feel good about yourself after, but it's your choice. Sometimes I can still hear the screams. When I first got home from New Orleans, they would wake me up in the middle of the night. I would frantically search the house for a crying baby until I would finally snap back to reality and realize there was no baby. It was all in my head. Now it's nearly 11 years later. I'll still wake up in the middle of the night to the crying. Thankfully, my girlfriend has gotten used to it and will calm me down, remind me that it's all in my head, and then tell me go back to sleep. The only problem is that the crying doesn't stop when I go to sleep. I'll end up having to relive the whole thing again. September 2nd, 2005. I got a call from one of my supervisors, Frank. I didn't mind him as a soup. Some of our soups were complete asshats, but while Frank was often worthless, if I needed something, he pretty much stayed out of my hair. And that was a good thing. Jack, you told me you wanted to pick up some overtime shifts, right? Yeah, but only if you're offering them at double time. When there was an overtime shift, they would first try to get people to come in for time and a half. The new medics would pick them up until they realized if they just waited 45 minutes, they'll page it out again offering double time. Right, Frank said. Well, I have a bunch of double time for you if you want it. Oh yeah? I'm game. Great. FEMA is requesting we send some resources to help out in New Orleans because of Katrina. I guess most of the medics, firefighters, and cops abandoned post when it all went to shit so they could be with their families. FEMA is funding this, so you'll get paid double time from the second you get to the station until you get back in 2 weeks or so. That EMT that picks up shifts with you a lot, John, said he would go. I know you guys get along well, so I hoped you'd take it. How long is this gonna be? What am I gonna be doing? I said. They said they need you for at least 2 weeks. They didn't give me much details, but it sounds like you'll just be running 911s. Alright, sounds fun. When are we leaving? I said. John's already on his way. As soon as you get there, you guys can leave. Great. Let me pack some stuff and I'll be on my way. As I packed some clothes and toiletries, I got pretty excited about the trip. It's not every day that you get to practice your skills among a different population in a big city during a catastrophe. I mean, I was no way glad that the hurricane happened, but I was glad that I'd be able to go help. I pulled up to the station about an hour later and John was already there, stalking and checking out the ambulance. What's up, Jack? John was clearly way more stoked than I was. Hey, what's up, John? What do we need? Well, they put us in this POS backup rig, but I've got it fully stocked now. I really am supposed to check all of the supplies myself since the responsibility lies on me as the medic, but I trusted John. I'd just make sure all my drugs and narcotics were good and we could take off. 15 minutes later, we were on the road. I think we drove a total of about 1,900 miles. It took us just under 27 hours if you count all the stops for fuel, food, and going to the bathroom. We swapped off driving at each gas station so the other could get a nap in if they wanted. Next thing I knew, we were pulling up to the FEMA camp and some dude in a bright yellow vest waved us down. Where are you guys from? He said while staring at a clipboard. We're from Southern California, I replied. Right. Okay. Are you both medics? No, I'm the medic. This is my EMT partner, John. Alright, EMT, grab your stuff and head over to that bus. They'll arrange transport for you back home. I looked over to John and he looked like his life had been sucked out of him. John had been an EMT for about a year and he was what we call a Ricky Rescue, meaning he lived to be the hero. If he heard a good trauma get dispatched to another unit, he would get on the radio before they could jump the call, no matter how much his partner would have preferred to take a nap. Well, that could be annoying. He was a good guy. He knew his shit, and I always felt comfortable with him as a partner. What do you mean? John's my partner. I'll need him to run calls, I said to the FEMA guy that never cared to introduce himself. You won't need a partner. You're not running any calls. Grab your stuff out of the rig too, we'll be using it. Oh, and if you have any blankets or pillows in there, you may want to grab those too. What the hell is going on? The only person I know is being sent home, and I'm not even going to be running calls. John and I cleared our stuff out of the ambulance while complaining about what bullcrap it is. I watched him as he walked to the bus when the FEMA dude yelled, "Hey, you coming? We don't have all day." I followed him through the maze of ambulances, fire trucks, FEMA trucks, and police cruisers for all different parts of the country. We walked up to a parking lot full of tents. "This one's yours. Put your stuff in here and meet us over in the briefing area over there." He pointed at a cluster of tables and FEMA trucks. "And make it snappy." There were a couple of other guys putting stuff in their tents. I looked over to the guy next to me and said, "Hey, what the hell is going on around here?" "No idea, man. I just got here too." "Damn. Well, my name's Jack." "I'm Mark. We'd better go figure out what's going on." We both walked over to the briefing area, and after a few minutes, a different FEMA guy stood in front of us to tell us what's up. Or so I hoped. "Alright everyone, my name's Robert Jones. I'm going to be your director while you're out here. I'm sure you're all wondering why you've been pulled from your ambulances. Well, we have enough medics to handle the 911 system. What we need now is people for body recovery detail, and that's going to be you. If any of you object to this assignment, feel free to grab your things and hop on one of the buses, and transport will be arranged for you. Everyone else, head over to the equipment area over there and you'll be fitted for your PPE. Oh yeah, thanks for coming out to help." Then he walked off. If I wasn't getting double time for all of this, I probably would have pieced out. In hindsight, I should have pieced out, but I didn't. I walked over to the equipment tent and got set up with a full hazmat suit. What the hell did I sign up for? The next morning, we geared up, hopped on some Humvees, and headed off. I didn't see Mark. He must have left. We had a couple of guys from the National Guard with us that kind of filled us in. The National Guard had already gone through most of the houses to check for hazards and bodies and survivors. They would have put markings on the houses to signify if it was clear of hazards and how many bodies were inside. We had just to retrieve the bodies, and in the process, hope for survivors. "You guys are lucky ones," one of the soldiers said to us from the front. "You get to go to the 9th Ward. It's pretty gnarly over there." Really had no idea how to respond to that. We pulled up to a neighborhood. We hopped out, and the water was still a few inches deep. The soldiers started setting out stacks and stacks of body bags. "Alright, this is super easy. You look at the number on this part of the diagram. If it says 2, you've got 2 bodies in there. Go in there, find 4 legs, 4 arms, 2 heads, and as much of 2 torsos as you can find. Vital organs are a plus, but they may have washed away." I walked into the first house, having no idea what to expect. I'd run calls on people that had been dead for a couple of weeks in their hot-ass apartment, decomposing. It's the worst smell. But never someone that's been laying in the water for a week and a half. As soon as I walked into the house, the stench punched me right in the nose. Damn, I forgot to bring Vicks. Rubbing some Vicks on your upper lip is one way to reduce the effects of the stench. Even through all of my gear and mask, I could still smell it. Me and this guy Alan walked through the house. He looked in the kitchen, I looked in the bedrooms, then we found them. 2 bodies, both floating in the bathtub. "Alright man, I'll grab the top, you grab the bottom," I said to Alan. This is how I've always carried bodies. I've never had to move a dead body because we just leave those for the coroner. As we grabbed the body, I realized this would not work for these bodies. I lifted the shoulders up and my hands sunk into the body. I tried reaching around to get a grip around the chest, and that's when Alan grabbed the legs and we lifted. We ended up tearing the body in half. The skeleton of this one stayed pretty intact, but all of the soft tissue kind of dissolved. Reaching for the body ended up being more like trying to pick cherries out of a cherry pie. It was terrible. We developed a system of just grabbing arms, legs, heads, and whatever else we could get individually. Then trying to scoop out the other parts when we'd find dismembered ones. You'd try to pile a full set of body parts into a body bag. I'm sure we were mixing parts up all the time. Sometimes we'd come up an arm or a leg short, sometimes a head. It was an arm or a leg, we'd assume the person had an amputation. With heads, we'd try to look for a while, but who knows, it may have floated off somewhere. We'd pack up and get back to camp just before sunset. Every night was the same. We'd all shower. God, I never felt clean. Then we'd all climb in our tents and not say a word. We were all in shock. There were a couple of guys that would joke around. While it sounds disgusting, it's often the only way we know how to deal with what we've seen. But just most of us shut off. This was our daily routine for the next 2 weeks. I always held on to hope that I'd find a survivor, but each day was nothing but death. As a medic, you hold on to the moments when you actually help someone, when you actually saved a life. That way, when you ran a really crappy call, you could cope. There was none of that here. I lost track of the days. I was maybe sleeping an hour or two each night. When running on such little sleep, I tend to go into an autopilot mode. I'd go out and collect body parts all day, get back and barely even remember what I did all day. That was until September 18th, or was it the 19th? May have been the 16th, I don't remember. We loaded up and headed back into the disaster area. We'd been bagging parts for about 6 hours when I heard a baby crying in the next house. I swear to God there was a baby crying. I looked over to Bob or Mike or whatever the hell this other guy's name was for the day. Do you hear that baby? What? The baby crying in the next house. A what? Where? Ran over to the house. 3. There's 3 bodies in this one. I could still hear the crying. It was coming from down the hall. I stepped over a waterlogged body at the bottom of the stairs. 2 more. Got to the middle of the hallway and heard the crying even louder. I ran down the hall. The floors and the walls were shaking. I was sure the structure was about to fall apart. I heard the crying coming from a bedroom. I flung the door open and saw another body, trapped between the wall and the bed. One more body. I heard the crying coming from the bedroom. I ran into the bedroom and saw the baby. She was floating prone in the bathtub, her arms wrapped over the edge of the tub. Fuck, she must have just flipped over. I slid my hand under the arm and picked her up. This is the part that I see over and over. I turn around and as my fingers sink deep into her small body, her legs are floating at the other end of the tub. I don't even see the head until I notice it on the floor next to the toilet. The crying stopped. My heart is pounding. Then I feel a firm grip on my shoulder and I swing around. The other arm falls off. Hey man, are you... It's the guy that I was with, Bob, or Alan. Oh, damn. Let's get her outside. I carried the parts that I had. He grabbed everything else. We packed her into a body bag, and the guy I was with told one of the soldiers that we should probably call it a day. We hopped in the Humvees and headed back. When we got back to camp, I showered, packed up all my stuff, and told the FEMA guy I was leaving. Pointed me towards the bus, and I was gone. The whole flight home, I couldn't stop thinking about her. I swear I heard her crying. I followed the cries right straight to her. I left her back there in a bag, but she follows me every moment of every day, even 11 years later.